Hello everybody, how you guys doing today? Welcome to Finance 101. Today's topic we're going to talk about taxes. Brought to you by your favorite financial educator, myself, Mr. Finance. The number to always call me or reach me at is 973-873-5977. Once again, my number is 973-873-5977 for all your financial understanding and to book a free financial checkup. Also, if you'd like to get your copy of a free Saving Your Future book to learn some of the information that I will be sharing with you today, definitely call me at 973-873-5977. How you guys doing today? Thank you guys for definitely tuning in. You're definitely going to hear some really good stuff about taxes and even some more financial information. One of the things that I think the lack of understanding about finances and also taxes is due to the fact that nobody's really out there trying to teach us. Nobody want to give us the information nor bring it to us. And if they do bring it to us, like I always mentioned before, they like to bring it to us with either an intention to sell us something or an intention to either have us pay to learn some of these information. And like I said, I'm not going to stop until me and my company, World Financial Group, World System Builder, we are dedicated to definitely bring this financial information to 1 million families before 2020. And I just want you guys to know that we are here to make a difference. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about it. The topic right now we're going to talk about is taxes, right? And we're going to cover how taxes have grown from 1913 all the way up to even now and talk about what's the solution. We heard a little bit about the president talking about he wants to lower taxes. We're going to talk about the effects that could happen from that. But let's talk about what Benjamin Franklin said. He said that nothing is certain in this world except for death and taxes, right? He said, you make it, they tax you. You spend it, they tax you. You save money, they tax you. You die, they still tax you. As a matter of fact, they tax you even worse, right? So from sale tax to income tax, to property tax, to estate tax, and every other tax, anywhere you turn, the tax collectors await. And we got to figure out how can we protect our money from taxes, right? So one bit of good news is that the highest current U.S. federal income tax rate is rather low compared with the past. It was over 90% during President Kennedy's, time, and 70% at the beginning of the Reagan era, right? Think about being in those era. Like, can you imagine paying 90% tax? Even 70%? The Reagan era was that's a shaky era, right? And a lot of you guys that listen to this, you guys know about this. Today the top tax rate, tax bracket is lower, right? But if you add state income tax, the total may be higher. For current tax rate, you just got to visit. We ask you to go visit so that way you can know what the current tax rate is. You go to www.irs.gov. All right? So once again, the website you go to if you want to check on the current tax rate, you go to www.irs.gov. All right? So let me talk about the history of income tax rate. And we're going to talk about from 1913 to 2015. All right? So in 1913, the top bucket rate was 7%. Can you imagine that? 7%. The first permanent income tax was 7%. Oh my God. Who wished they were in 1913 right now? All right? Can you imagine? Can you imagine how much money was flowing back then? How about in 1917? The tax rate was actually 67%. That's when we had the first World War I financing, right? Then in 1932, it was 63%, with the Depression era. And then 1941, it was 81%. And that was during World War II, right? Wow. Talk about in 1944 when taxes was at 94%. That was the Individual Income Tax Act of 1944. 1964, tax rate was at 77%. Tax reduction during the Vietnam War. 1981, 70%. That's the Reagan era tax cuts. 1988, when it went to 28%. Another Reagan era tax cuts. 1991, it's 31%, right? The Anubis Budget Reconciliation Act of 1990. How about 2003, when it was 35%? The Bush tax cut. Then 2013 to present today, it's 39.6%. American Taxpayer Relief Act of 2012. Now, here's something that nobody really talks about, and we're going to talk about the country's national debt before I move a little further. Considering that the country right now is in $19+ trillion in debt and growing, right? And we pay taxes in order to help pay down these debts, right? And I just want you guys to think about something. If our 39.6% that we're paying in taxes right now can't do anything to help lower our debt, our national debt that is over $19 trillion, if we bring down what we pay for taxes, what's going to happen to our national debt? What's going to happen to us as people? What if these countries that we owe these money to say, hey, I want to call in my debt now? What's going to happen to the American people? And these are things we always got to consider at all time, right? We got to think about these things. We got to educate ourselves. So while Canadians have a different tax bracket and rates, and some different in the taxes they pay, such as GST and HST, the ultimate impact and effect of taxes are the same. It leaves less money in your pocket. For current Canadian tax rate, all you got to do is visit www.crc.gc.ca/TX/NDVDLS/. All right. If you'd like to visit more and learn more about the Canadian tax rate. So, taxing is an issue today. And a lot of people don't talk about it. A lot of people never question it and wonder why. Why are we not talking about this? Why are we not sharing more about this? So, taxes take a big chunk out of your money. And any savings and investment strategy, you must consider the tax impact on it anytime. I always tell people the 3 things you always got to think about when you do anything with investments. You got to think about the growth, the protection, and the taxes. What is your current tax rate? What will the tax rate be in the future? Will taxes rise or fall? So let's look at the challenges ahead, right? We're going to look at number 1, the shrinking tax base. As I mentioned, since 1945, when Social Security began, right? Workers per retiree shrank from over 40 to about 3 today. So back then, for every retiree, there was 40 people working. Today, there's only 3 to everyone that's retired, which is bad. And the numbers continues to decline due to the aging demographic of the US and Canada. Governments will have a hard time sustaining the existing system of social security. The Canadian pension plan and the general benefits that seniors receive today, those are all up in questions because due to the fact that, like we mentioned, the aging demographic and the amount of people that are actually contributing into these programs. Number 2, we got to talk about the mounting debts, right? As of January 2015, the U.S. debt stands at $18 trillion. It's actually grew since then. A burden of 56, and let me repeat this so you guys understand. Listen to this, and I want you to listen to me very closely at this point. And I'm going to say this again. As of January 2015, the U.S. debt stands at $18 trillion. A burden of $56,500 per citizen. And you know what's crazy? It was just at $13 trillion 4 years ago. And it grew. Oh my God, it grew over $5 trillion within 4 years. Most of you guys listening to this, that probably wondering, so what's that got to do with me, Keon? It has a lot to do with you because you're carrying a burden per citizen. You're obligated to $56,500. $56,500 you as a citizen carry in this country's debt. You know, Canada's debt right now is only $692.4 billion, as an average burden of $19,590 per citizen they hold. So guess who's going to pay for this debt? If it's not us, guess who? It's our future generations. Our kids. The government borrows most of it through public debts, which is owed to individual businesses and foreign governments through that who bought treasury bills, notes, and bonds, right? Foreign investors hold the largest share of the U.S. national debt. Some of them, like China and Japan, you know, the top of the list, holding more than $1 trillion each of IOUs. As the tax base for workers per retiree is shrinking, the cost to provide retirement benefits like Medicare, you know, defense, and these things. Oh my God, it is at an all-time rise right now, and it's continuing rising. These problems are going up. You know, the government will have to choose between cutting down the budget or raising taxes. Many people believe that taxes may have to go up in the future. The question is, what do you think? Based on what you're hearing right now, what do you think? What are you learning? Do you understand that if we want to protect our kids, we got to work on that national debt? And all we doing is seeing different leaders coming in power and they're adding on to the debt, right? We need to figure out a way how to get our country out of debt. So let's talk about another taxes. Capital gain tax. How many of you guys understand how that works? You know, almost everything you own and use for personal investment purposes is capital gain, is capital asset. It's like your homes, stocks, and bonds. So when you sell capital assets, the difference between the amount you sold it for and your basis, which is usually what you paid for it, is a capital gain or a capital loss. So for example, we know that you're going to buy a car. The minute you drive it off the parking lot, it devalues, right? So if you bought the car for $10,000, it devalued, and you went to sell it back, you're probably going to get it. You probably sell it back, and you'll get about, say you got it for you did $6,000. Someone bought it back from you for $6,000, but you spent $10,000. So your capital loss in that scenario would be $4,000, right? So capital gains on asset held for less than 1 year is a short-term gain and usually taxed as ordinary income tax rates, right? So you got to think about the different ways that we get taxed. We get taxed now, we get taxed later, and we get tax advantages, right? Which does your money go? That's the question today. How does your money get taxed? So let's look at the following tax treatments on the different type of investment accounts, right? So here in the US, if you're going to, where do you put your money? You got to think about where you put your money. And we're going to talk about tax now, tax later, and then you get tax advantages, right? So now, in tax now, you're going to get taxed now in your checking, savings, CDs, stocks, and mutual funds, right? So when you hear some of these guys talk about buy term, invest difference, and the difference that they invest your money is in mutual funds, you're going to be paying taxes now, all right? Just a little side note. How about tax later? 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, set IRAs, annuities, and pensions. You're going to pay taxes on those later on, right? And for tax advantages, you get tax advantages by using Roth IRAs, 529 college savings plans, right? Municipal bonds, health savings account, life insurance, long-term care benefits. Those are great ways to get tax advantages on your money. In Canada, where do you put your money in Canada? If you want to get taxed now, you're going to get tax in your checking. You're going to get taxed in your savings, GIC, stocks, mutual funds, bonds, interest income, non-registered investments, right? Tax later is in your double RSPs, RRIFs, right? Your LIRA, LIFs, your RESPs, annuities, pensions, CPP, OAS, RDSPs. These are where you're going to get taxed later. And if you ever want to participate and get tax advantages, you must look into TFSA, also life insurance benefits, individual critical illness and disability insurance, health insurance, and primary residence, right? So you just hear me talk about tax now, tax later, and tax advantages. So what does that really mean, right? And I'm going to break that down. What does that really mean? Why is that even important? And what's some of the things that I must really pay attention to in order to definitely stay above that, right? So let's talk about tax now, right? What is tax now? So tax now means that any earnings from these accounts must pay taxes for that year. For example, you must report and pay tax on earnings from savings accounts, certificates of deposit, which are known as CDs, individuals for stocks, mutual funds, and money market funds. In Canada, guaranteed investment certificates, which is GICs, term deposits, and any investments or saving generally held in a non-registered plan would fall into these categories as well. As for tax later mean that the money you put in is pre-tax. Pre-tax money deposit in an account is money that you have not yet paid income tax on, but you will definitely be paying taxes later when you withdraw it. Now, these accounts also called tax deferred. In the U.S., tax deferred accounts commonly take the form of IRAs, 401ks, and 403bs. In Canada, it's registered retirement savings plans, which are RRSPs, or registered educational saving plans, which is RESP, and registered disability savings plan, which is RDSP, are popular tax deferred vehicles, right? Now, in the US, when you begin to take money, right, take your money out after 59 and a half, you'll be taxed at ordinary income tax rate, right? So yes, I just said that. Even though you past 59 and a half, you be taxed at ordinary income tax rate. But if you take money out before 59 and a half, you will get a 10% penalty with few exemptions, right? In addition to taxes. Also, you can't keep money there forever. You must withdraw it when you reach 70 and a half, or you'll pay a 50% penalty. Most tax later accounts are designed this way. However, some tax later accounts are tax deferred, but not tax deductible, sorry. So for example, the money you put in a non-qualified annuity or a non-deductible IRA is after-tax money, which is non-deductible. The tax only applies to the gain at withdrawal, which has been tax deferred, right? So the Canadians RRSP rules are different from those in the US. However, the basic functioning is similar. In pre-tax money goes into RRSP. Tax is deferred, but ultimately tax must be paid once the money leaves the RRSP. To learn more about the specific details of RRSPs, please visit www.cac.gc/NDVD/RRSPS-RRSP-eng.html. Okay? So let's talk about what is tax advantages. Now, tax advantages mean you generally won't pay tax when you withdraw money from your account. Tax advantage investments money is after tax money because you already paid taxes on it. So these vehicles that's used to where you get these tax advantages are Roth IRAs, 529 college savings plan, TFSAs, and life insurance are popular investment vehicles that get tax exempt distributions. You know, in Canada, tax-free savings account, which is the TFSAs, enjoy tax exemptions. Contributions are made with post-tax dollars, but no tax is paid when withdrawals are made. Also, the RESPs and the RDSP have some features that are tax later and tax exempts. So these are some really good vehicles for all my Canadian listeners that are listening. It's a great way to look into some more things about that, right? So I would love for you guys, thank you all. First, I just want to thank you guys for definitely tuning in and listening to some really, really great things. And I hope this gives you some insight about what are taxes, right? And we got to look into how can we get better as people, and definitely educate ourselves. All right? So remember to always like and share, tune in, share this with a friend, and make sure that they get the information. The next topic we're going to talk about is debt management. So make sure you stay tuned, make sure you like the page, and you also stay tuned. You can always add us at bshinerslegacy.com, and we will always get better and better and better. Add us on Facebook. Once again, it's B Shiners Legacy. That is BSHYNAZ. Make sure you add us. All right? So remember, you're one decision away from changing your future for the better. My name is Mr. Finance. Thank you for always tuning in. Next segment will be on debt management. You guys have a wonderful night. Love you all. I'm out.